All right, everyone, welcome back. Glad to have you. So, John Morant, right? That ankle situation has everyone talking. And I got to say, I was watching that replay like, whoa, that looked nasty.
Yeah, no kidding. Seeing an athlete go down like that is always tough.
Exactly. So we're going to try to break down exactly what happened, what a scary ankle injury like that actually means from a sports medicine standpoint. And for that, we're lucky enough to have with us, well, the expert.
Happy to be here. Ankle injuries are so common, especially in a fast-paced sport like basketball, and Morant's case really highlights just how delicate this area of the body can be.
It did seem like everyone online was instantly saying it was that one replay, that one angle where his ankle, like, twisted almost all the way around,
Right, right. Everyone saw that same clip, and you could just tell from the way he went down.
that it was bad.
And the immediate reaction, too. It's one thing to see the mechanism of the injury, but when you see that grimace, you know it's serious.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's break it down. What's actually happening in there when we see an ankle twist like that?
So the ankle is a complex joint, right? It's not just one bone. It's a whole system held together by these really strong bands of tissue called ligaments.
Ligament, okay, right.
And those ligaments are essential for stability, for keeping everything in place. Now, when we're talking about a sprain, like what we suspect Morant has,
We should say, of course, we're not doctors.
right, of course, just, analyzing based on what we're seeing.
Informed speculation.
Exactly. So a sprain is when those ligaments get stretched or even torn. Think of it like a rubber band. Overstretch it, and it might snap, or it might not quite be the same afterwards.
So is that what determines the severity, like how badly those ligaments are stretched or torn?
Exactly. And that's where those grades come, in grade 1, 2, and 3.
And the reports were mentioning a possible grade of first or two for Morant.
Right, and that's a good sign. Grade 1 is the least severe. It's like a mild overstretching of the ligament. Grade 2, there's some partial tearing. And grade 3, the most serious, is a complete tear.
So thankfully, it doesn't sound like Morant's is quite that bad.
Hopefully not. And a lot of that diagnosis will come from the physical exam, checking for stability, range of motion, and of course, the dreaded.
MRI. Makes me cringe just thinking about it. But serious question, what's the MRI actually showing them?
An MRI is key here because it allows us to actually visualize the ligaments, see the extent of the damage, and rule out any other issues like bone involvement, which can complicate things.
So it's not just about getting a fancy picture.
Not at all. It's about getting a really detailed roadmap of what's going on inside that joint, and that helps determine the best course of treatment.
Which in Morant's case seems to be leaning toward conservative treatment and physical therapy. So what does that actually mean?
So conservative treatment basically means we're focusing on managing the symptoms, reducing pain and inflammation without resorting to surgery.
Good news for Morant, right?
Definitely. And this is where the RICE protocol comes in: rest, ice, compression, and elevation. You want to give those ligaments the best possible environment to heal.
Rice. Got it. And how does physical therapy fit into all this?
Physical therapy is crucial, especially for an athlete like Morant, whose game is so reliant on explosiveness and agility.
Absolute.
It's about regaining strength and flexibility, but also, and this is huge, proprioception.
Proprio what now?
Proprioception is basically your body's awareness of its position in space. When you sprain your ankle, those sensors that tell your brain where your foot is in relation to the ground, they get disrupted.
So you kind of have to retrain your body to trust that ankle again.
Exactly. Physical therapy will help him rebuild that confidence in his ankle, strengthen the surrounding muscles, and hopefully prevent future injuries.
So while a grade 2 sprain, which it seems like he might have, is definitely a significant injury with the right treatment, Morant has a good chance of making a full recovery.
Absolutely. The human body is amazingly resilient. But it does make you wonder, right? About how athletes in other sports with completely different demands on their bodies deal with these kinds of injuries.
Ooh, now that's interesting. That's a whole other deep dive right there. But for now, we'll leave it at that. Ankle injuries, they're no joke, folks. Take care of yourselves out there.